Hey everyone, welcome to On the Nose. This week we are hanging out with Frenchie. It's a fellow clown I met online that we kind of I don't know, we've been connected online through social media for a while now, and you're one of my patrons. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, it's always interesting talking to people in this way because, like, we know that the other person exists, and it's sort of a pretty regular thing. So in a way, we're in each other's lives, but then at the same time, we don't really know that much about each other's lives. So it's really, that's part of why I like doing this. I get the opportunity to add some 3D to,
to find out some history.
yeah,
Well,
add
yeah.
some details.
I honestly welcome to the studio. This is where I film my YouTube show.
Is it like a
Clearly, I'm not.
basement or?
Yeah, this is the basement of the house I grew up in, which I am in the process of buying from my brother and sister.
Wow.
So, yeah, live from the basement. Well, recorded live from the basement. Uh, every Saturday night. And it feels weird to be sitting here not dressed
Yeah.
as I am normally dressed for my program, which is as Murph the Clown.
Yeah. I actually, when I first started doing the video interviews, I'm so used to only being online and the clown stuff that it was a little bit weird, but yeah, I definitely got used to it. But I think it's cool. I will be adding links to your YouTube and anywhere else you want me to link to in the description for the episode when the time comes, so people can check out your content. I One of the things that I wanted to ask you about was your content. How long have you been doing that now?
So I had a website for years and years. I think started in about 1998, maybe 99. My company started, and I used to do pinup watercolors, and I've done comic strips. I've done all kinds of stuff. And I think it was about 2006, I was watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I'm like, you know what? I really miss these movies. And so I'd go to the store, and you could buy like a 10 pack of DVDs for like $6 or something, of these
Yeah.
movies that are like public domain, a lot of them. And I just started writing up reviews. At first, I started with like every movie I saw, but then I decided, no, I want to stick to this genre, this, the classic horror and B grade sci fi, Z grade sci fi.
It's
um, you know,
sort of an endless supply of those, right?
there is. I will never, I, I don't even know if I'll live long enough to cover on my show everything that I've written up. I've written up like 500 movies, and
Wow.
I think I'm about halfway through, and keep watching, and adding more reviews. So
Yeah.
I had a good 10-year head start writing reviews before I even thought about doing a YouTube channel. And that was just kind of I don't even know how it happened. I just kind of a fluke, I guess. Well, actually, I kind of know what happened. I had wanted to do like a horror host theme type of a thing. At the time, Joe Bob Briggs was not on the air. He was touring the country as John Bloom, promoting his books. And so, in Joe Bob's absence, I had wanted to take, my reviews on the air, and I just couldn't come up with what I want to be as a horror host, because like you see Svengoolie, and you've seen mad scientists and zombies and vampires and everything done to death.
Hmm.
So what happened was Ringling Brothers Circus closed down in 2017, early 2017. And I just thought to myself one night, okay, what are all those unemployed clowns doing? and decided that my character was going to be an unemployed clown, a clown who was laid off from the circus and now works at a gas station and reviews shitty movies. Well, am I supposed to?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay, you can bleep me if you need to. I'm
I
used
don't
to
care.
talking like that on my show, so
Yeah, I literally don't care. Like I I don't expect to ever be cool enough to have the opportunity to monetize on YouTube, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, I mean, I'm drinking on my show. I'm not getting drunk, but I have a drink with each episode. So yeah, 2017, I started out, um, fictionally from the single wide trailer in Gibsonton, Florida, but realistically in the music room right next door here. My mother was still alive at the time, and she helped build my clown costume. She made the pom pom buttons on the front of my clown costume, and I would come
Awesome.
over here on Sunday night because I had to like get ready to go into the work week doing graveyards, and so I would come over here on Sunday night after the little one got to bed and record my movie. And uh, as my mom got on in years there, I went into 2018, and then my sister and I had to start staying here to take care of my mom. And
Hmm.
so she would fly up during the week and work from home, work on her computer from home. And then Bo and I would come stay on the weekends, and I would stay Sunday night on my own. And so there was a bed in the room, and I lost my studio essentially,
Yeah.
just through that. And then my mom passed in 2019, and we had kind of discussed before she passed that I was going to move into the house. Um, my wife and I had been separated. This is my son's mom had been separated for about a year, and I was living there like as her roommate,
Hmm.
you know, helping pay bills with the in-laws and stuff. And yeah, I said, just so when my mom goes, I'm going to move into the house. So that's what I did. And then that was in, she passed in late 2019, and I was moving in by February of 2020. And I want to say I'm not sure when, but I resumed the show. And after the first episode of the second season, I determined that I better start doing double features because, I'm getting right up against 60 years old here, in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, year and a half. Um, I'm not going to make it through the movies that I had then if I didn't start doubling them up. So I started doing double features, and occasionally there's a triple feature because there's like a trio of movies that just, go run as a trio.
Yeah.
The Aztec mummy movies. I've got in my bucket here. This is where I pull my movies from every week and have Monkey approve them. And so I I just in that bucket there is Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. So there are some like that.
Yeah. Let's I'm not very good about watching movies. I could watch maybe, two or three movies a year,
Yeah,
maybe. I really just I got pulled into the horror community on Twitter X,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're all mostly most of them seem to be really into movies and they watch stuff multiple times, and I'm just like I am not wired the same way at all. Like
Uh,
it's interesting. Like
honestly, I wonder with some of them, like, are they independently wealthy? Like, don't you have to work?
yeah.
They can like edit their videos, like really do some sharp editing with sound effects and stuff. Like, I shoot in one take. Sometimes it's a second take, but I usually just start over and do it all in one
Yeah.
bang. I'm doing a little more editing now that Monkey talks, but still not to the level that a lot of people are on YouTube.
Yeah, I have no like when I started doing the RV noob videos, I do it like I added like little words to it. That's like it for the editing, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
I just don't have the attention span, and because I made the content, the last thing I want to do is watch it. So I never like rewatch. I just post it as is, and it's like, you know.
yeah. I'm forced to watch mine like 3 times. I watch it right after I record it to make sure it's all there, and then I go upstairs and edit it. I editing basically apply a filter and now edit clips of Monkey in. I've got various clips of him saying different things that I can just cut and paste, in iMovie. Nothing fancy. It came with the computer.
Yeah,
um, and so I end up watching it then to make sure it plays through right. And
yeah.
then after I upload on Saturday night, on Sunday, I have to watch it yet again and grab some screenshots, which I use to post the links on Twitter and my Instagram is kind of, I guess, an archive of the show. I wanted to save my ads as well because sometimes my Instagram ads are probably better than the show. Uh, so I wanted some place to save them, and I realized that if my Instagram gets shut down, I'm going to lose some. So I've got to get those backed up on the cloud as well.
Yeah, I keep anything that's put online, I have a copy of it on my network backup drive. So
Yeah,
I keep
I
yeah.
I've got all the shows there, but I don't have all the ads.
Yeah.
So if I lost that Instagram account, I would lose those ads.
I do need to be better about self-promoting. I just get so discouraged because the algorithm hates me that it's like it feels like I'm, trying to run up a like a sand dune or something. It just
I think that's for a lot of us. I just barely hit 400 subs on YouTube, and
yeah.
I got like maybe 600 followers on Instagram. I'm not big anywhere, and I've never been big, but I'm as big as I've ever been.
Yeah.
Um, there was a time a couple of years ago where somehow the YouTube algorithm just went crazy, and I was getting like 30,000, 50,000 views, but they were all like 19 seconds long, and my intro is 21 seconds. So they were all from India, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, all these non-English speaking countries. So I have to assume that YouTube was just placing them a little higher in the queue, and they would see review dash movie name and
Yeah.
think preview. And then, quickly in my intro, they determine that this isn't a
It was not.
preview of the movie and
Yeah.
they turn it off.
Yeah, I love watching the watch times on TikTok. It's like you have like a 15-second video and it's like 3 seconds. Like it's the
Yeah.
average watch
Yeah.
time. I'm just like, dang.
Yeah. Now, so I'm back down to my normal like 30 views or whatever, but people are watching like half the show at least.
Yeah,
They're seeing me talk about the movie. So
yeah,
I'd rather have that engagement and the comments and likes from my fellow YouTube people.
yeah. I
Uh,
agree with that.
I'd
The
rather have that than 50,000 19-second views.
equality over quantity kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The so your makeup look, it has it changed since the beginning, or did you just kind of commit to
No, and it's basically stolen. I know you're not supposed to steal another clown's look, but it's not really stolen from another real clown. It's stolen from an album cover. of a painting that had a painting of a clown on it. Um, and it's gone out of print. It's no longer, you can't stream it anymore. But I bought it on vinyl off eBay. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
basically, I just kind of borrowed the look from an obscure '80s kind of I don't know if they're new wave Wall of Voodoo with their second singer,
Yeah, I don't know.
which a
I
lot of
that
people
doesn't
will say isn't Wall of Voodoo. So I guess it doesn't matter at this point. But yeah, it was just a black velvet painting on the cover of a clown, and I heavily borrowed from that
yeah.
clown.
I think it's interesting, like in the clown community, people you're not supposed to steal clowns' looks, but there's also the sort of the opposite where people do the makeup like a clown, like someone they're clown friends with, just as a like, hey, look how cool my clown friend is, and do their makeup like them, you know? So there's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the community sharing part, and then there's the, you know, the don't steal it part.
And I think the thing is really amongst real clowns, like circus clowns, like they would paint their makeup on an egg,
Yeah.
and that's how the makeup is kind of trademarked or something.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of the sort of the clown egg
So
museum.
for me as a wannabe movie critic on YouTube, I don't think it's as big a deal.
Yeah.
And for the clown, the clown girls on OnlyFans, I don't think they really care either.
Yeah.
They just want that bread.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. My cat is on my lap, like
Oh,
distracting me.
my dog is up there yipping about something, and I don't know what. I don't know if he can hear you or.
It's just excited about something.
I
What
mean,
kind of
he just ate, so I've got an extra dog right now too, a little Shih Tzu, no Yorkie Lhasa Apso mix, and just gave her a haircut last weekend, and she sometimes when I start talking down here, she thinks someone's here and she gets all aggro. And she'll come running down and I'll pick her up.
That's
But
funny.
Diablo, my Chihuahua that I've had for years, he just turned 15 on the 8th, so he's getting up there.
Yeah.
Doesn't come
That's
running
a
down as much anymore, but
that's a big dog name for a little dog.
old Diablo.
Yeah. I used to have a greyhound, you know, and they're big dogs. And when I first got him, he was fresh off the track and, you know, just kind of he thought like all other dogs were his friends and cats as well. He was very friendly, but he learned to be terrified of small dogs because they were so nasty to him that it got to the point that he was like he wanted to cross the street to avoid them
Yeah,
when we were
yeah,
out for walks.
and they're like polar opposites. Pickles is aggro with people, doesn't mind other dogs so much. Diablo wants everyone to pet him. He like run across the street to get pets, but hates other dogs
That's funny.
unless they're
Yeah.
chihuahuas. He'll tolerate other chihuahuas.
So he's racist, basically.
Yeah, basically, he's racist. I don't know. Maybe he thinks they're his mom. When we first got him, we got the people we bought him from wanted out of the Chihuahua business, and so they gave us his mom,
Mhm.
and we had her from, let's see, we get them in 2009 to 2013, so we had her a few years,
Yeah.
and she was 7 pounds of pure fury. I think she thought that she still needed to protect her pup, who now outweighed her by 2 pounds.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, chasing German shepherds out of the yard, and uh, came out in the backyard once. Our neighbor's pit bull got in the backyard, and I go out there, and she's like clamped onto its upper lip with her teeth, like hanging there. and and the dog's just like frozen in fear. The pit bull is just frozen in fear, like, get it off me. I'm like, Ginger.
Sounds
And
like maybe the
she just lets go, drops down, runs in the house.
It's crazy. Just sound like maybe that breeder didn't breed for temperament so much.
But yeah, she was. I think it came from having her pup around. She felt like she had to protect Diablo from
Yeah.
anything and everything.
Yeah, I used to have a cat when I was a kid that didn't like dogs to the point that it just attack them. It wouldn't warn them. It would just like lunge at them. So,
Yeah,
if people brought dogs over, they had to stay in the yard and we had to keep the cat inside.
yeah. Some of them just have no fear, and yeah, that's kind of Ginger. I mean, she was cat size, 7 pounds,
Yeah.
smaller than a lot of cats.
That's true because my cat's like 13 pounds. So,
Yeah, Diablo, he's more like 11, but yeah, she was not big at all.
yeah. You have a friend that has a Chihuahua, and he's like super, super the chillest little guy. He's super sweet, but he's like 6 pounds,
Yeah,
tiny, just
yeah.
tiny little guy.
To be a show dog, they have to be under 5.
Wow,
So, or 5 or under. Yeah, they can't.
competitive, horrific breeding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those are way too small, and they sit there and shake, and yeah.
Yeah, I looked into getting a like an Italian Greyhound because I liked having a Greyhound. I just don't want a dog that was that big because then I have to have a bigger car. And they're not the same dog at all. They just look the same, but different
Yeah.
sizes. But they're completely neurotic. They don't like to go outside to pee. They shake all the time. I was like, oh no,
No, no, that doesn't sound good at all. Yeah. My son's mama, she and her boyfriend got a couple of Great Pyrenees pups, and they're a little over a year old now and 90 pounds
Dang.
females.
That's gotta cost a bit to feed
Yeah,
them. Like,
yeah, and they come over once in a while, hang out in the backyard, but they've kind of tore up my backyard. They ate a couple of my sprinkler heads. I gotta fix that this spring. So yeah, but yeah, they're big and slow, and I mean they're friendly.
yeah.
The one of them, same thing. I guess they got picked on when they were pups by a little dog, and yeah, the one of them's okay around Diablo, but the other one has grabbed Diablo a couple of times, and flung him across the room. So, like, come on, take it easy. He's an old man.
Yeah.
But
That's a that's a real concern with greyhounds because of the way that they're trained. Like they'll be like seem like they're gonna be friendly with little dogs or cats, and then they get close to them and then pick them up and play with them. And
yeah,
my dog was not like that, thankfully, but they were like in the beginning. You really need to be careful and watch them and stuff like that. And I heard some pretty crazy stories from other greyhound owners at the dog park about them basically thankfully none of them like tearing the animals up, but like throwing them across the room
yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, they just being a racing dog, they seem like they'd have a lot of energy, you know. Um, I really like the look of huskies, but damn, they got a lot of energy
yeah,
and they just
yeah,
tear stuff up.
yeah. Greyhounds are interesting. Mine was unusual because he had a little more energy than most greyhounds tend to have. But they generally like you can just walk them like a mile every day and they're fine. The rest of the time they'll just hang out and sleep and stare at you. But my dog was like a 5 miles a day dog. But he
Oh, man.
raced until he was 6, and that's probably part of why he was successful for so long is because he had that extra energy. But they
Yep.
tend to be like, quick burst and then they're done. They're more like cats in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that.
Yeah, and personality wise, they're a lot more like cats too. So I used to joke because I had like a Maine Coon who was very dog like, and then I had a Greyhound that was very cat like. So it was like,
They switched personalities.
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So, do you have like movies that you think like people should just watch, even though they're
Um,
cheese? They,
yeah, all the stuff I review, I tell people that, even if I give a movie a zero, and I'm gonna be honest, I've given far less zeros than five ring circuses. Five's my top. Um, uh, I've given a lot more fives than zeros, but there are exceptionally bad movies that I've had to give a zero. But even if I give a movie a zero, I would say still watch it, have your own take. Some of the movies I gave zeros, other people just love.
yeah,
Um, my friend Coop, who writes on the show with me and is now voicing Monkey, we're giving away all the trade secrets. um, he loved the movie Zombie or Zombie 2, the Lucio Fulci zombie movie, and I hated it. And almost every book I read refers to Plan 9 from Outer Space as an example of one of the worst movies ever made. And I gave it five rings. So it's totally objective. And yeah, I feel like a movie, even these cheesy movies, are worth watching at least once.
yeah.
You might not want to watch it again.
I had the issue that if I did not enjoy the experience of watching a movie, that um I resent losing that time that I could have been doing. It's
Okay.
like I'm
Yeah.
never gonna get it back. But before cell phones, you watched movies, you tended to actually like watch them. And now I like no longer feel obligated to like just watch. So if I get to the point that I'm like, you know what, I'm not really enjoying this that much, I'll leave it on as background noise and I'll start working on like a project or something. And then I find that like I enjoyed the movie a lot more than I was.
I I have done that. I often, at the very least, I'm going to tweet out, now watching and the poster, and oft times, leave commentary throughout, especially if there's funny subtitles. Uh, I'm kind of hearing impaired, and so I usually have the subtitles on the TV, so I can keep it down. Um, and my son's up there yelling and stuff, so
Yeah.
yelling at his game. You've watched my show, you've probably heard him. Yeah, I just work it into the show when it happens because sometimes he's got to be here,
Yeah.
And yeah, I took him home early tonight, which he didn't like, but
Took
you
took him
know,
took away from his games or
yeah, well, he's got games on his phone. I took him away from his PlayStation. That's what he's got
yes.
up there in his World War II game. Kid knows more about World War II than I do now. I just wish that would translate over into school a little bit
Right?
more.
Yeah, and when the special interests and the need for education don't overlap that much.
Right. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I never post that I'm watching something because I don't want people telling me what they think before I've watched it. Because when people give me their opinions, like my brain will take that opinion and it ends up unraveling
Oh,
details
okay.
about the movie that like it's like my brain Sherlocks it and it's involuntary. So I'll end up knowing way too much before I've even watched it, and then I get distracted by that. So
Yeah, if I got that, I'm typically not getting any comments or anything until the next day, and more just likes of the comments I made along the way. Um, if I get a few more followers and that starts to happen to where somebody's telling me that that's the worst movie they've ever seen or something like that, um, I don't know how much it affects my I mean, it does a little bit affect my view of a movie because, I've tried to go into some new movies, and I don't review a lot of new movies, but I will watch them. Um, go into them with like low expectations. I prefer to go in with low expectations and be pleasantly surprised.
Same.
Uh, and a perfect example of that would be the Addams Family movie back in 1990 or whatever. I went in with really low expectations. The TV show was so good, and they're going to screw it up for sure, Hollywood.
Yeah.
But they actually did pretty good. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I'd rather do than go in with like a bunch of hype and like everybody saying this movie's just great. And then I'm sitting there going, what is wrong with you people? This movie's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, I go out of my way to avoid, like, I don't read reviews or any, like, I just want to go in as blank slate with as low, like, with basically no expectation. I just can go in and take it at face value and not think
Yeah.
about it too much. And that does help. And I actually, when stuff gets really popular, there is a high probability that I won't watch that movie for like 5 years. It's got to
Yeah.
be like I have to have the distance from it. Um, I do there's some video games as well. Like it just something
Yeah.
about like everybody else's opinion puts me off.
See,
But
and for me going to the theater, I'm going to the art house here in town. And I'm seeing, art house movies are the newer movies I'm seeing. I'm not seeing, I don't really care about Marvel and DC and Star Wars. They just take everything now and they just milk it to death.
yeah,
And I have no desire to see Spider-Man 17 or whatever's right now. It's
I
great if people
literally
like that.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
only see those movies if somebody is like, I want to go see that movie. You should go with me. And I'll be like, but I don't care about that movie. And they'll be like, I know, but you should go with me anyways. And then I go with them, but they have to pay. That's the deal. Like, because I'm not
Yeah.
paying to watch something I don't care about. Yeah, I don't go to the theater. I haven't been to a theater since before COVID, and I only went like once every couple of years. Once my son got out of the age of wanting to see all the cartoon movies, we just kind of stopped having to go. But we did used to go to, there was a theater in downtown San Jose. It's not there anymore. And they had like midnight movies like once a month.
Yeah.
And they would play stuff like marathon, like the Simpsons or whatever.
Hmm.
Or they showed the 80s Transformers movie, stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
my son and I
Yeah.
used to go watch that stuff. And that was a lot of fun. And
The
I
last movie I saw in the theater was A Clockwork Orange. The art house here had a Stanley Kubrick, Akira Kurosawa uh, month where they just played those movies every Friday and Saturday night.
That
I
movie, I saw that movie. I knew nothing about it. I thought I had grown up hearing the name but never knew anything about it, and I thought it was maybe based on the name, kind of like Pink Floyd's The Wall or something. I just didn't know. So I went and saw it. I was like 19, and I went with a couple of people that were like taking film classes.
Yeah.
So they start like picking it apart. Whereas I watched the movie not knowing anything about it. And I experienced the movie the way that it was intended to be experienced, right? It's not
Which is
now.
kind of a kick in the face, basically.
Yeah, it was really intense. I have PTSD. It brought some of that up. I was like,
Uh-huh.
I needed time to decompress after watching it. I needed to digest what I had experienced. It was like a really obviously really well done because it had that much
Yeah.
of an impact, but I will never watch it again because I don't want to go through that experience
It's
again.
a
It's,
rough watch. It's a
yeah, I
rough
had to
watch.
get out of the car. I was trying to explain to them how it made me feel, and they kept doing the like, well, film student thing. And I was like, nope, stop the car. And I walked home. It was like 8 miles. I don't fucking
Huh.
care. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I just missed seeing 2001. I had seen Clockwork Orange on the big screen before. I have never seen 2001 on the big screen, and I found out about this little film festival the night after 2001 played up there.
Mm.
That would have been phenomenal on the big screen.
I read those books a couple years ago, 2001 and the subsequent books. Um, and I'm really glad that I did because when I watched the movies, I was relatively young, but I'm not always good at getting the meaning from if they're being like artsy fartsy about getting the meaning across.
Right.
I'll like miss it. I'm terrible. Like I can't do poetry. I just tell me what you mean, right? Like
Yeah.
so I reading the books was great because it was all like it was all explained, all of the concepts, but it allowed me to go back and sort of re-explore the visuals that they used in the movie and be like, okay, well that's really interesting. It's cool that they did it that way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I had already read the books when I saw it the first time, just on video on my TV. But I had already read the books because I was really big into those science fiction and even some fantasy books, the Robert Heinlein and Philip K. Dick, Isaac Asimov, all of those guys in junior
Yeah.
high. I was really into that. And so I had read 2001 before I saw it and remembered, and it's like anything, when you're reading the book, you're like inside. Oh, for example, James Bond. You watch a James Bond movie, you're just like, you're outside, but you read a James Bond book and you're inside his head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not he's kind of a dark individual.
I never liked James Bond growing up. Like I always thought he was a predator. I didn't like, you
And
know.
the movies, yeah, they kind of play that way,
Yeah.
uh, more so than the books, I think. Um, yeah, it kind of comes off like that. But of course, that's kind of how it was back then too. It was,
Yeah. I mean, that was what was idealized and yeah.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
like I just was super sensitive to that stuff as a kid, so I'd see it and just be and yeah, sci-fi I love reading sci-fi, but I when I was a kid and teens, I was really into horror books. So that was like, I read like, Stephen
yeah.
King and Bar Barker, Clive Barker,
Clive Barker,
and
yeah,
like all that stuff. And then I didn't read. I had my son, and I lost my connection with books for a while. And then when I got back into reading about a decade ago, it was like just sci-fi. It's just like
yeah,
like all
yeah.
this stuff. So I was like really late to reading like a lot of these like incredible series, but I think my favorite sci-fi author is Stephen Baxter.
Oh, I'm not
Um,
familiar with him because
he's actually an engineer as well,
okay,
and so he writes and he uses a lot of imagination, but he also incorporates like real concepts. And
okay,
I
yeah,
and I love that because then I can go like read these studies after the
yeah,
fact and be like, it's cool to see what he did with that. And it's like Arthur C. Clarke, same kind of,
yeah, yeah. And
um,
I've switched now to where I have this pile of, paperbacks, yay high, the old detective and spy novels. Uh, so I don't have as much time to read anymore, but yeah, they're sitting there in my in pile.
yeah,
They're just little 130-page books, that are easy to get through. If you do start, you can finish. I can't
yeah.
read an 800-page book. There's no way. I just
Yeah,
don't have time.
I Oh, so Stephen Baxter, he wrote a book called The Time Ships, and that was actually is the sequel to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Um and it's is really well written. That's kind of what got me into him. And then I like started reading more books from him and stuff. So if you ever do like want to check him out, that's sort of my recommended place to start is with the
Can
time
we take a
shifts.
break, Leigh, without screwing things up?
Yes. Yeah, okay. So now we're back. Um, yeah, so time ships, if you ever want to check out Stephen Baxter, a good place to start. Um, and yeah, I've been reading these witch, like supernatural books lately, but
Uh-huh.
they're not very good. and I'm just reading them to kind of get back. I wanted something like easy that I'm not overly invested in, but they're like I can read one in an hour. They're like not very long, and they have like a romance component to it, which is what makes them not very good for me. But I think that's actually what other people like.
Yeah, that'll sell.
Yeah. I don't care. I'm just like, whatever. But I like the other stuff, like them growing their powers and, that stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's nice to be reading again because I like like forget how to do it for a while and just not do it, not find the time in my day for it. But it's such a enjoyable
I
space to be
suppose
in.
at some point when the boy gets older, I might be able to read again, but I don't know. I think a lot, there's newer movies that I want to watch, but I'll often watch a movie that I can do on my show instead.
Yeah.
And it's like for a reason. And I avoid the pitfall that you have. It wasn't a waste of time if I can review the movie and put
That's a really good point.
and put it in the bucket because
Yeah.
then it was of some value.
Yeah. That is a really good point. I
So
yeah, I'm supposed to do a episode with Tyler where because she does like she watches movies and I think they just do that. They don't put it on YouTube, they just put it on her Patreon. But we're supposed to watch Bad Milo together, which I've seen the movie before, but I wanted to rewatch it again with her because I think she'll enjoy it for the same reasons that I did.
yeah.
Um, so that movie is like I watched it when I first started having health issues, and it was great for my imagination. I was just like, what if I have a demon in me that will come out and kill people?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, that sounds more fun than the actual health issues that I have.
Right?
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
growing like an extra leg over here instead of having arthritis in my hip.
Yeah, that would be handy. Yeah, I could instead of having arthritis in my neck and all the subsequent nerve stuff, I could just be growing like little poisonous needles or something.
Yeah, that'd be much better.
Yeah.
And I'd watch a movie about it.
Yeah. That like for some reason that maybe tries to I read an article about um rattlesnakes today and I don't know why my brain went there, but it did.
Rattlesnakes.
Yeah, the snakes on there's an island outside of LA called Catalina Island. I don't know if you've
Oh yeah,
heard of it,
yeah.
but it has a rattlesnake population that is significantly more aggressive than the snakes that are on the mainland.
Oh,
They're
okay.
also a little bit smaller, and the reason for that is because there so many goats and deers and stuff had been imported to that island over the years that they the snakes are more under threat of getting crushed, and so they've learned to basically
Oh,
warn and bite more aggressively
wow.
than in other
Wow.
environments, and it's just random things I read, but I thought it was an interesting, like, because
Well, we do have them around here, and it's I have friends that have lost dogs to rattlesnakes, and others that like their dog will stop them right in the middle of the trail
yeah.
because it knows there's a snake up there.
Yep. I've been on a few walks where there was a rattlesnake in the path that I just went, I guess I'm gonna turn around and finish my walk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're out there. I don't. I've never been to Catalina Island. When I was a kid, I had relatives down in the Los Angeles area, and so we would go down there on occasion. Um, but I spent a lot more time out on the cattle ranch, uh,
Yeah.
on
I've
my
been
mom's
there
side.
I've been there once, and the only thing I really remember that really stuck with me were the fact that people that live there have golf carts for cars and they mod them and fix them up and put sound systems on them and stuff, and they're very blinged out. And I was just like, that's really cool.
You know, that doesn't surprise me because, um, a lot of the trends especially early on, a lot of the trends would come from surfer culture up here. Um, and I would see it down there first. But car culture was also huge in LA,
Yeah.
and I don't think as much in Northern California. It's like something that grew out of LA, the custom culture with K's
Yeah.
is definitely an LA thing that has spread around the rest of the country just because people love those older cars
Yep.
in particular. Uh, so yeah, I used to see it down there, and it's here now too. You see the car clubs and the customizing and as much with new cars nowadays as older cars.
Yeah. When I lived in San Diego, I rode a motorcycle at the time, and we had like bike nights where we'd, people from all over come and meet up, like Wednesday nights, first Wednesday of every month or whatever. But there was also the equivalent like car nights, but those were like every week. It's,
Yeah,
and you just
yeah,
have like this restaurant, and the huge parking lot would just be filled with all these different cars that have been modded and just loved. You could tell the people like that own them just love them.
yeah. We have that here too, where the older burger joints, that look like the old
Yeah.
days, with the roller skating
Yep. Yeah, the
staff.
classic. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, the old drive-in. They yeah, there's meetups with cars, and I don't see it as much with the bikes, but I mean every car show I go to has a bike section, and
Yeah.
I like to look at the bikes. I used to have I had a Harley Davidson Crossbones uh, for several years there until I had to stop riding because I have tremors
Yeah.
that weren't conducive, don't help with my balance and stuff. So I
Yeah,
stopped
it's
riding and I
cool.
sold my Crossbones, even though it was my dream bike. It was the last Springer that Harley Davidson made.
Yeah. Yeah, when my nerve stuff in my arms got really bad from the stuff in my neck, I sold my dream bike and got something more comfortable. But it was like, even though I liked the next bike, it wasn't the same as having. And then when I got chronic fatigue, I could no longer safely ride a motorcycle. So I sold it and paid for medical bills instead. But it's still on my list of like maybe eventually I can get another one and just do like, ride to Canada or do whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to get a trike. I had initially wanted to convert my Crossbones into a trike because I'd seen some nice builds on the internet, but
Yeah.
either way, you're looking at 35, $40,000, whether you convert or whether you buy a new one.
Yep. Yeah, there
And
was a there was a guy in my parents group because they were part of a club with vests and all that, that had a trike that was the back end of it, so the back seat trike part and then the trunk part was a Volkswagen Beetle, like an old one. And it was sometimes when we go
I
on
love
rides, I'd
stuff
ride
like
with
that.
him just because it was so fun to,
Yeah,
ride on it.
I love it when people just do crazy stuff like that. I've been to the Autorama a few times. I've seen like a motorcycle with like a V8 engine in it. Like,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to ride this? Like the engine's wider than I can like put my feet.
Yeah, good luck getting the tire to even grip. You're just gonna be doing like burnouts. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a fan of Frankenstein to cars and bikes.
yeah, there's there's always like at least one at Maker's Fair when I go. I don't know if you guys get those out there, but
No, I haven't
um
heard of that.
they're like
Like a
it's like a well, it depends. They used to do multiple weekends, but I think like this they shut down after COVID and then they're just starting to come back again. So it's just like 1 or 2 weekends, but it's just made up of people like it's like, make magazine, of people that like make different kinds of cool stuff, just like crazy stuff and different projects and hobbies and
okay, yeah.
um
We
it's
have
cool.
Swiss
Like,
days up in the mountains here. There's a town called Midway. They have Swiss days. I don't know why it's called that, but yeah, it's like arts and crafts and yeah, crazy doodads, people who weld like old rusty stuff into like what look like entire vehicles, not functional vehicles, but like
yeah. Yeah, they have some like ones that look like giraffes and it's like a full like put
yeah,
together welded thing and it shoots fire and well and also the Burning Man people come go to it. So the stuff they build
okay,
it's up
yeah,
there and
yeah,
so it's it's cool to go see what people do, but there's always like a cool car or something. There's also
yeah.
always a Dalek. So
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like a blast. That's something that I would go to.
yeah, I went last year. I'm pretty like anti people, especially with the COVID, but I went anyways. I just wore a mask and kept my distance. But it was nice because most of it was outside and it was very
Yeah,
like spread
yeah.
out and stuff. But yeah, it's one of the few things that I'll willingly
My
go to. Sorry for the interruption. Ran a little bit long. Part two will be next week. You can join Frenchie and I and hear the rest of the conversation. As always, I appreciate you guys joining and listening. If you like what you hear and you want to support the creative process, I do have a Patreon. Um, I am working on having more than just ad-free episodes. And yeah, there's a ton of perks. And you can also sign up for my newsletter. It comes out once a month. I'm not spammy. You can go to my website to do that. And if you have any questions, suggestions for me and Frenchie, or for me, or for any future episode, and it doesn't matter who it is or whatever, you can either submit on Spotify or you can email me. And that information is also on my website, which will be linked at the bottom in the description for the episode. Yeah. Have a good week and